Thanks to my big sister Allie, I got to go on a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Hong Kong. While it was considered a business trip, we were able to explore Hong Kong through many tours and by wandering the streets. While I got to see everything from the fish markets to the temples, I must admit my favorite part was the bus ride from one location to the next on our tours. I was lucky enough to have two of the best tour guides, Joe and Harold. While in the bus, they talked about life in Hong Kong. It was nice to get away from the touristy stuff and get an idea of what Hong Kong is really like. Joe had lived in the States while growing up, so while we were on the tours with him, we learned about the Hong Kong government compared to the American government system. For example, he explained that nobody needs to be homeless in Hong Kong because the government provides everyone with a house. In fact, over 50% of the people live in government-provided apartments and are only required to pay 10% of their income to live there. The average government apartment is 250 square feet and usually houses at least 4 people, which may seem crazy, but what is even crazier is, according to another tour guide I had, she knew of a fisherman's family of 7 who lived in 185 square feet. Joe also mentioned the horse races. He said almost everyone goes to the races to gamble because casinos are not allowed in Hong Kong. The Jockey Club is run by a non-profit organization that gives all of their earnings to the medical field and education. Because of this, their public education and colleges have been greatly improved, and nobody needs health insurance as going to the doctors is extremely cheap. For example, he said his friend just had a baby and spent an additional 2 nights in the hospital, and her total bill for all of the expenses was equivalent to 14 American dollars. Harold, on the other hand, had never lived in America, so he talked about stuff on a more personal level. For example, he explained how Hong Kong is primarily funded by tourism, so most people have jobs in the tourist business. He explained how he had to go to a tourist school, which made him pick out an American-sounding name and learn English by interacting with Americans in airports and such. He also discussed the financial life of Hong Kong. He said life is really tough, especially if you can't afford to buy an apartment. He told us that he bought his 300 square foot apartment for 1 million Hong Kong dollars, which is approximately 130,000 American dollars. Once you own a home, life is much easier because utilities and food are cheap, and almost everyone uses public transportation. Cars in Hong Kong are taxed at a minimum of 70% and gas is over $8 per gallon, so only the rich can afford cars. Because of this, you rarely saw an economy car on the road. Almost everyone owns luxury vehicles, such as the Aston Martin you see in this picture. On our first tour, we went to the Peak and Stanley Market to do the traditional touristy stuff. The next day, we went on an off-the-beaten-path tour, which took us to the bird market, flower market, and the fish market. It was quite interesting, especially the bird market. It was a few blocks long and had cages after cages of birds stacked on top of each other. Our tour guide explained that birds are the dogs of Hong Kong as their apartments are too small to house dogs. People will actually walk around with a bird as a status symbol, and the bird market included a bird park, where the bird owners would bring their birds and sit around and talk. We also got to go on the world's largest outdoor escalator, which covers over 800 meters and elevates 135 meters. The last tour we went on was a religion-themed tour, where we went to a couple temples and visited the wishing tree. Because the wishing tree was so old, it couldn't support the weight of the papers that contained our wishes, so instead we hung our wishes on a board that contained our Chinese zodiac signs. When we weren't on the tours, we had some free time to explore on our own. A couple nights, my sister and I went to the street markets. We had visited Stanley Market during our first tour, but since the time was restricted, we didn't get to do much shopping. So one evening, we went to the ladies' market. As you can tell by the name, this market is primarily aimed at women. The vendors here sold knockoff purses, wallets, lingerie, traditional Chinese dresses, and various knickknacks. Our last night we went to the night market. Here there was more variety. They had all of the knockoff purses and such like the ladies' market, but they also sold CDs, DVDs, paintings, cell phone accessories, and so on. It took a while to get used to the pricing. For example, I bought a wallet that sells for around $30 in America for 50 Hong Kong dollars. Well, it sounds like I got ripped off. I only spent $6.41 on it. I ended up buying a wallet, a purse, 2 purse hangers, a shirt, 2 keychains, a postcard, and a hanging ornament for around 440 Hong Kong dollars, which is equivalent to about 56 American dollars. We also went to Ocean Park on our last day, which is like a SeaWorld. This theme park was built in 2 locations. The first portion had a few rides, an aquarium, and a general zoo-like exhibit where you could view native animals and view some pandas. The other half of the park was located on the top of a mountain. To get up there, you had to take a cable lift. It took about 5 minutes to get up to the top of the mountain. These 5 minutes ended up being one of the most calming, beautiful moments in my life. While going up, you had a 360-degree view of Hong Kong. You could see the city, the ocean, and the mountains. As if the view wasn't amazing enough, there was a slight breeze from the wind, and it was perfectly quiet. When we reached the top level, we went to a dolphin show. The whole vacation was amazing. Like I said, a once-in-a-lifetime adventure. We got to do the tours, ride on the world's largest outdoor escalator, visit Ocean Park, attend a gala which included a dragon show, and eat at a 5-star restaurant every day. And we got to sleep in a 5-star hotel.